What's happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It's time for the live starting 11 prediction for tomorrow's Europa League qualifier against Jablonec. Sorry to keep you waiting there. Technical problems as always. This is the joys of doing things live. It's only the second live starting 11 prediction that we've ever done, so you'll need to bear with us. I hope it goes as smoothly as last week's video. Before we get started, looking ahead to tomorrow's game, I have to ask you to click subscribe below. We're closing in. We need about 360 subscribers to hit the big 30,000 mark. Now, there'll definitely be 360 people who watch this video that aren't subscribed. So if you're one of those 360, please hit that red subscribe button below and you'll take us to that magical 30,000 number. We come into this one, obviously, off the back of two defeats. One to Midtjylland last week in the Champions League and one to Hearts at Tynecastle on Saturday night. Really disappointing. A lot of time to reflect on Saturday's game and what we talked about in the full-time reaction in terms of where the team is at mentally right now. The sort of state it's in due to the preparation that we've had. I know we've added Hart and McCarthy in the last couple of days, but there just seems to be this overwhelming feeling around the club that we're just not ready. Like the lack of preparation this summer has really hindered us, particularly off a season like the one we had last term. So I think there is just that sort of cloud still hanging over the club because of how things went in the summer and last season, and hopefully we can get rid of that. I think after Saturday I found myself thinking that if we can just fight well this season and take a title race into the later stages of the season, that we'll be doing well starting from this position where the squad is an absolute mess. The new manager, such change in the club, losing some big players. I know as the season goes on and we build up to some big games, I'll definitely come away for thinking like that. But I just fear that things might get worse before they get better because there's going to be so many teething problems for Ange in terms of integrating new players, a new style of play. I think you could see that play out on Saturday at times. However, our opponents tomorrow had their own league defeat on Saturday. They lost 3-0 to Mlada Boleslav. I hope I've pronounced that correctly, but there you go. Jablonec had a really disappointing defeat on league duty themselves at the weekend. So hopefully we can capitalise on that and really get a positive result in this first leg tomorrow in the Czech Republic. The last time we went to the Czech Republic, it was obviously an absolute disaster and we lost 4-1 to Sparta Prague, but I think Jablonec are sitting 8th or 9th after the first two Czech league games this season. No such performances will do tomorrow. Anything like that 4-1 defeat to Sparta Prague. We've got to get something positive to take back to Celtic Park. And even regardless of this tie, after two defeats back to back, we really need to go and get a win and just get rid of some of this negative energy that is hanging around. Right, we'll get to the team. This is what you're all here for. I don't think it's any secret that tomorrow we're probably going to see a Celtic debut for Joe Hart. Joined the club yesterday officially, straight on the plane to the Czech Republic. I spoke to him today at the fan media press conference. He spoke really well. I know that we say that a lot about managers and players in press conferences speaking well, and it means nothing. What they do in the pitch is what matters, but I was impressed by Joe Hart. I thought he was really humble. He seems confident. He answered. I also watched the mainstream media press conference with him, and he was asked some tough questions about where he finds himself in his career and the lack of first team football that he's played. But he looks like someone to me who's confident in his own ability, someone that's determined to get back playing football regularly, and someone that's got a love of the game. And as I said the other day, just before the transfer was announced, if he comes here with the right attitude and works hard, I'm confident he'll be a good goalkeeper for Celtic. His age and what he's done recently, I don't really hold too much in terms of that, because you look at Craig Gordon, who had been out of the game for 2 years before he came to Celtic, and we still managed to get him to do his turn at that stage in his career. So I don't think the age is important. I think 34 is a decent age for a goalkeeper, to be honest. I think he's confident, and I think he can come in and do a really good job for us. And it's just so good to have a goalkeeper in, and for us to be able to close that off the list now, because we've been crying out for a goalkeeper. In terms of right back, we've still only got Anthony Ralston, who in the last two games against Hearts and Midtjylland has been one of the bright spots. He scored a brilliant goal on Saturday at Tynecastle. one of those goals that it just doesn't feel right for Anthony Ralston to be dribbling past players and finishing like a number 9, but it was a great goal. He's still our only option at right back. We're still getting linked with Buta for Royal Antwerp. Don't know what's happening with that. It is dragging on now. I think personal terms was the hiccup that I read the other day. How much there is in that, I don't know. But we've got to get reinforcements in that position as soon as we can. The big decision on Saturday that Ange Postecoglou made was to put Nir Bitton at centre half alongside Carol Starfelt on his Celtic debut. I think it was a mistake to put Bitton in the team. I think Bitton at centre half, he's let us down on so many occasions, and I just think he's not really suited to that type of game that we had on Saturday at Tynecastle. I don't think he should start this game tomorrow. I think Stephen Welsh should come back into the centre of defence. As I say, Bitton is just unreliable. He's inconsistent, and he only really looks comfortable at centre half in home games against the bottom 6 teams, and even then he's always a liability, whether it's being too lax or whether he's going to lose his temper or do something stupid to get sent off. He's a liability near Bitton, so I think getting Welsh back in there. Welsh hasn't made too many mistakes. I think the only weakness in his game is that he goes to ground too easy, but I'd like to see him back in there, but alongside Carol Starfelt. Again, not the best debut for him on Saturday, was it? Let's be honest. I don't think the narrative from after the game, the narrative that he was really, really bad, I don't think that's quite true. He did show some pieces of strong defending, but obviously when you make a mistake that leads to a goal on your debut, he did really dodgy back pass as well, but I don't think it was an absolute disaster. It wasn't brilliant. He will get better. He was only in the building one day, one training session with the team. I expect him to settle in and hopefully improve as the games go by. Left back again, we're going to go with Greg Taylor, aren't we? Because he's the only option that we've got there. Bolingoli's still kicking around somewhere, but he's not been in contention at all, and I wouldn't expect him to be. So Greg Taylor will complete that back 4. In midfield, James McCarthy joined. I see a few comments talking about James McCarthy. He didn't have a club, in contrast to Joe Hart, who was at Tottenham. The manager confirmed this in the press conference today. He didn't have a club, so he's been training on his own. He's going to take a bit of time to get up to speed, I think. Soro will start in that deep line midfield position. We need a much better performance from him tomorrow. Callum McGregor will obviously lead the team, and alongside him, I've went for Ryan Christie. I don't think David Turnbull has quite done enough recently, so far this season, if you like. Now it's early days. David Turnbull was absolutely top class last season, and if he's just having a dip in form, I think we should just start Christie in this game. Turnbull will be there as an option, and maybe just a little break for him or a couple of games out the team might do him the world of good, because I don't think he's been anything like himself, David Turnbull, in the last 2 games. So I've went with Christie in midfield. On the right hand side, I'm saying the manager is going to stick with Abada. Now, he was really, really poor on Saturday. He's shown really bright sparks since he came to the club, but I really don't think there's any doubt that you can see there's raw elements to his game. When he gets in these crossing positions, a couple of times on Saturday, he got in great crossing positions, but he's just putting his head down and smashing it into an area. He really needs to lift his head, take a breath and pick someone out. If you try and pick someone out and the cross doesn't make it or the cutback doesn't make it, that's fine. But you need to have a wee bit more about you playing out wide for Celtic than getting to the byline and just smashing it. I think that's probably a little bit of inexperience in his game, and he'll have to improve on that. I expect him to. He's only 19 years of age. I do expect him to get better, and he has impressed me in the few games that he's played. But I just thought in Saturday's final ball really, really let him down, which I know is a common theme for wingers. On the left-hand side, I'm going with James Forrest. Now, I know that's not his best position. I think we need more from him. We need more from him in general, James Forrest, whether he's on the right-hand side or the left-hand side. I think he's one of the experienced players in this team now. Him, McGregor, these guys who have been here for a while, in this period where we're in transition, we've got a lot of new faces coming in. These guys need to step up. McGregor has been doing so in his performances recently, but I think we need more for James Forrest, and I don't mean to be too harsh on him because I know he had a long spell out last season. I just think we need more from him, and I think that will be from the left-hand side tomorrow. The manager played him from the left-hand side at the weekend, and we'll see in a minute why I think Forrest will play in the left. and Abada will be on the right-hand side. Because up top, I'm going for a first Celtic start for Kyogo Furuhashi. Now, I know he's not been in long, but Ange keeps labouring the point that he was mid-season in Japan and he's in really good shape. So I think that means we're going to see him start the game tomorrow. We've seen Edouard play most of the games and start most of the games since Postecoglou came in. Now, the thing for me is he's offered next to nothing, Edouard, and he's looks like he's on his way out the door. And the thing that Ange has said, with every player, you've seen that Ayer was on his way out. He wasn't involved in pre-season at all. You've seen Ncham basically have his contract paid up and leave the club. And he's said time and time again, Postecoglou, that he's not interested in guys who don't want to be here. Edouard, so far, has been the exception to that, but I don't think he'll be tomorrow. I think now that Keogh goes in, he says that he wants to, he prefers to play as the main striker. I think you could see wee bits of movement from him in the 10 or so minutes that he played on Saturday. He does have that sort of striker's movement. He looked like he likes to come inside the pitch, not a natural winger. So I think Ange might give him the nod and give him his first Celtic start. As I say, Edouard's just not offered enough. And if he's going to leave the club this summer, I think Ange is going to fully commit to integrating Furuhashi into the team. So that's the 11 that I think the manager will go with tomorrow. Vital that we get a good result, regardless of this tie, just to lift the mood, lift the energy. I think the additions of Hart and McCarthy can do that. Fresh energy, experience, which is much needed in this Celtic squad at the minute. I think we can really kick on. We've got to keep bringing in additions, as I say, right back, left back, probably another centre half, a striker, maybe two if Edouard goes. We've got a lot to do still in the transfer window, but I think that's the team that the manager will pick tomorrow. Like this video, comment with your own thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I said that at the top of the show. Thanks for joining us on this live stream, and we'll be back tomorrow with all of the post-match content. It's a strange kick-off time tomorrow. I think it's 5:15, so we'll be here about 7:15 with the live full-time reaction and then the Twitter reaction after the game as well. So don't forget to join us for that, and we'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.